Have you ever wondered how we get answers to really big questions? I mean, not just by guessing, but with actual, solid evidence? Well, it turns out there's a master plan for finding things out, whether you're a scientist, a student, or just super curious. So let's dive in and uncover that master plan together. Imagine for a second you're a detective on a tough case. You don't just wander around hoping to stumble upon clues, right? Of course not. You've got a strategy, a logical process for piecing everything together to crack the case. Well, guess what? Research is a lot like that. And that master plan, that detective's blueprint for cracking the case, has a specific name. It's your research methodology. It's the entire strategy you're going to use to gather and analyze your evidence, or what we call in the research world, your data. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to nail down what we're even talking about. Then, we'll explore the two big paths our investigation can take. We'll look at the different techniques for gathering clues, how to find our key witnesses, and finally, how to pull it all together to choose the perfect strategy for your own mystery. First up, what exactly is a research methodology? You should think of it less as a simple to-do list and more as the core logic behind your entire investigation. It's the why behind every single move you're about to make. At its heart, research is just a systematic and logical way to solve problems. And the two key words there are systematic and evidence-based. This isn't about gut feelings or what you think is right. It's all about finding answers you can actually prove. And that systematic process, it follows a pretty clear path. You always start by seeing what other detectives have already found. You hit the books. Then you come up with your own unique question. You pick your design, and that's the methodology we're talking about. You go out and gather your clues. And finally, you piece it all together to solve the puzzle. See? It's a logical journey from question to conclusion. All right, so now we're at the first huge decision you have to make in any investigation. It's a massive fork in the road, and this one choice pretty much defines everything that comes next. The big question is, are you going to work with words or are you going to work with numbers? This slide lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got qualitative research. This is all about diving deep into the why. It's about understanding experiences and ideas through words. On the other side, quantitative. This is all about measurement. It uses cold, hard numbers to test a theory and answer questions like how much or how many. So, if your mystery is about understanding people's personal experiences, what they really feel, you definitely go qualitative. Think of a question like, what was it like to experience that event? You're not looking for a number, you're looking for a story. So you do things like in-depth interviews or observe people to get that rich, descriptive data. But what if your goal is to test a very specific idea? Something like, does X actually cause Y? Well, for that, you'd go quantitative. You need numbers. This is where you run experiments or send out big surveys with multiple choice questions, stuff you can actually turn into statistics. Okay, so you've picked your path, words or numbers. Now it's time to figure out how you're actually going to gather your clues. This is where we get into the real, on-the-ground detective work. This chart here is basically the researcher's toolkit, and you have to think about the trade-offs, right? If you need to get a general idea from a huge group of people, and fast, a survey's your best friend. But if you need that deep, detailed story behind the why, well, then you got to sit down and do some interviews. For proving cause and effect, nothing, and I mean nothing, beats an experiment. And sometimes you just want to see how things happen in the wild without you getting in the way, and that's where observation comes in. That word experiment can sound a little intimidating, like something you'd only do in a science lab with beakers and stuff. So let's look at a real-world example from an actual study to see how this really works. So in this study, researchers had a really interesting mystery to solve. Does the way a hotel lobby looks actually make you more likely to book a room? To figure this out, they ran a quantitative experiment. It's pretty clever, actually. They showed different groups of people pictures of different lobby designs. Some were super modern, some were classic, some had a bunch of plants, some didn't. And then they just measured which designs made people say, yep, I'd book that. Okay, let's talk about a very real, practical problem. Imagine you want to know what everyone in a big city thinks about something. I mean, you can't talk to millions of people, right? It's just not possible. So what do? Well, you take a sample. This is a really important idea to get straight. The population is the entire group you want to know about, every single person in that city. The sample is the smaller, much more manageable group of people that you'll actually talk to. So let's just throw out a number. Say your total population is 50,000 people. Maybe that's all the students at a huge university. That is way, way too many to survey one by one. So instead, you pick out a representative sample of, let's say, just 500 students. And here's the magic trick. If you choose that sample the right way, using the power of randomness, what you find out from those 500 people can be used to understand the entire population of 50,000. It's pretty amazing. It's the power of statistics. And there are basically two main ways you can pick your sample. First, you've got probability sampling. This is like putting everyone's name in a giant hat and drawing them out. Everyone has an equal shot of being picked. This is the gold standard for sure. Then you have non-probability sampling. This is more about what's easy or convenient, like, say, surveying people who just happen to be walking by a particular store. It's way easier to do, but you have to be super careful about saying your findings apply to everyone. All right, we've gone through the case files, we've looked at the different tools in our kit, and we've figured out how to find our key witnesses. Now, let's put it all together. How do you choose the perfect method to crack your own case? Look, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Your research question is king. Everything flows from that. The specific mystery you're trying to solve is what tells you which choices to make, from your big picture approach right down to the little tools you use. A well-designed methodology isn't just some boring formality. It's what makes people trust your results. It's what makes your final conclusion totally convincing. So, there you have it. You've got the detective's blueprint now. You get the basic tools for finding answers in a way that's systematic, logical, and based on real evidence. So really, the only question left is, what mystery are you gonna solve?